Hey, what's up, beautiful people? This is your boy D Blancas coming right back at you with one more video. I know how excited you are about these videos. I'm excited. I love making these videos. Hopefully you enjoy them a lot. But right now, what we're going to do is start lesson 6, module 2. So watch my finger right there. So you should be lesson 6, module 2. You watch my finger? All right. Again, that's page S39. So one more time, watch my finger. S39. So let me give you a brief overview about lesson 6. So I read it, right? Can you believe that? It took time. I read this and I realized that there's a lot of information. And lesson 6 is a lot of review. So now it's more practice on stuff that we haven't seen in a while. So let me show you. All right. So one thing that you're going to need to remember, because I know we touched on this earlier in the year, we need to remember the rigid transformations. So I'm writing that down. Rigid transformations. All right. And we covered 3 of them. The first one, I believe, was rotation. All right. Then we covered reflection. And then we covered translation. All right. So these were the 3 that we covered: rotation, reflection, and translation. And one thing that when we were learning this, we learned that these rigid transformations, they do 2 things. Number 1, all right, they preserve distance. Okay? And then number 2, they preserve angle measurements. Excuse me. So these are the rigid transformations, and again, they preserve distances, they preserve measurements. So the first few exercises are about that. All right. So let's do exercise 1 together. All right. So exercise 1, they want us to find the center and angle of rotation. So right off the bat, we're going to deal with one of the rigid transformations. So I'm just going to highlight that we need the angle of transformation, and then we need the center. So we did this before, all right? So first, let's do this, because there's several ways actually. So you're going to need your handy dandy straight edge, which I have here, all right? And what we're going to do is highlight our original A, and then highlight our A prime. All right, I'm gonna color code this beast. Let's connect them. So hopefully you can do that. So let's connect these like so. All right, and I'm gonna highlight that line pink, so you know that those were the ones I connected. All right. Now from here, what we're going to do is find the perpendicular bisector. So we've been doing this a lot, the perpendicular bisector, all right? And now it's gonna come into play. So measure these together, which I just did, and make your mark up there, make your mark down here. Flip it and do it again. Mark there, mark down here. Again, that's where the pink line. So I'm just gonna color code these so you know exactly what I'm doing. Cool. And now I'm just gonna connect it. All right. So all I did right now was find this perpendicular bisector. So now I'm just gonna connect it. I'm gonna make my line go like that. Cool. Cool. We're going to do the same thing with B and B prime. So I highlighted those, and I want you to connect these. So let me connect them. Oh, I was off by a little. Let me redraw this if possible. Okay, there we go. Let me highlight that line so you know exactly which line I'm looking at. And we're going to do the perpendicular bisector again for this line. So I know we've been doing this a lot. You're going to become masters at perpendicular bisectors. All right, the video stopped recording for some reason. But what we did, I connected these lines and I drew my perpendicular bisector, which are these yellows that I marked. And now what I'm going to do is go ahead and connect them. Just like so. All right. So you see where both my perpendicular bisectors intersect, which is about right there. That's my center. I'm gonna label that O. All right, let me give it a different color. So that blue blob right there, that's O. All right, and I found it by doing the perpendicular bisector, and wherever they connected, wherever they intersected, that's my center O. So this part is checked. Now we just need the angle of rotation. So we have a lot of lines going on, but from here, you're gonna need your protractor again. All right, and let's focus on angle A, or I mean on A prime, and then just A. So I'm gonna draw a line through there, all right, through point A. So this is part 2 now. We're trying to find the rotation. And this is point A, and then A prime. Just like so. Let me highlight this in blue so you know exactly which ones we're looking at. All right. Now using your angle of rotation, I'm gonna place this about right here with my center. Line up your line, and we can see that this is about 58 degrees rotation. All right, so it's not to the 60 yet, so it's very close. So it's about 58 degrees. So I'm gonna write that that's 58 degrees. And that's what they want us to do with point P. So we found the angle of rotation. Part 3 now is find P prime for point P. So here's point P. I'm gonna line this up with my center, all right, using the protractor. Put that at the center, line up the line. So you see how point P is lined up with my line over here. And O is in the center. So I'm just gonna mark this at about 58 degrees, which is about right there. All right. So that's about 58 degrees. So my P prime is gonna be somewhere on this line. I just need to measure how far from O it is. So put this on O, put this on P, which is about there. Boom. There's my P prime, because this is about 58 degrees. So this was a lot, right? We did a lot. We found the center of rotation using the perpendicular bisector, and then we found the angle of rotation using A and A prime, which is the ones in blue. And then we rotated point P and we moved it over to P prime using 58 degrees. So this was a long problem. All of the problems that we do now are going to be this intricate, okay? But this was just exercise number 1. Exercise number 2 is very, very, very similar to this. Exercise number 3, you're going to do the line of reflection, if I remember correctly. So it's going back to your translations and knowing how to do them. So please ask questions about those. All right, I'm going to show you a few more examples, and then that'll be it for the lesson. Okay, so now at this point, what we're going to do is exercise 7. Cool? The rest of the exercises are going to be very similar to this. So earlier in the lesson, earlier in the video, I explained the types of transformations, the rigid motions. We had reflection, we had rotation, and we had translation. We have one more transformation. All right, there's a 4th transformation. And that 4th transformation is called the dilation. So 4 transformations. I'm going to write this over here. 4 transformations. All right. And again, we had reflection, which is a rigid motion. We have rotation, which is another rigid motion. And then we had translation. That's the 3rd rigid motion. So I'm just going to draw right here off to the side. I'm going to write rigid motions. Okay, but the 4th one, it's the dilation. It's what we've been working on. That's not a rigid motion, but it is a transformation, because we are making our object, our image, we're making it bigger or we're making it smaller, right? Depending on the scale factor. The thing that all 4 of these have in common, they preserve angle. So I'm going to write angle measurements. That's what the 4 have in common. All right, these 3 preserve distance, which is what I wrote in the beginning of the video. But all 4 preserve angle measurements. Cool. So let's see what number 7 asks us to do. It says, and I quote, a dilation with center O. All right, so we don't have center O. So that's the first thing we need to find. All right, so I'm going to write, where is it? All right, so we need to find center O. And scale factor R. All right, so we don't know the scale factor. So that's what we're going to have to find. Find scale, if I can spell, find scale factor. Takes A to A prime and B to B prime. Find the center O, all right, which is what we noticed, and estimate the scale factor, which is what the second thing we need to find out. So there are several ways to do this. All right. So A to A prime, I'm just going to connect them. I'm going to draw them like that. All right. That's A to A prime. I'm going to do the same thing from B to B prime. Let's line them up and then let's connect them. Just like so. Where they intersect, so they intersect right here, that is your center O, where they intersect. So that was easy. We found center O. Booyah. What now? Cool. And now we need to find the scale factor. So let's measure how far O is from A. So right here from the center to A. So use your compass, line it up, which is about there. Then let's see how far that is. Ooh, they're the same distance. So this is a scale factor of, this is 1. This is a scale factor of 2. Because I was able to move it twice. So right now, my scale factor is 2. Let's see if it's the same thing for B. So line this up. So there you go. It's lined up. So there's my first one. And let's see if it's the exact same distance. It is. It is the same distance. So this is another scale factor of 2. Because I was able to make 2 marks. R equals 2. The scale factor is the same for both. So that means that's the legit scale factor. All right. So R equals 2, and we found our center. And that's really just it. Some of these problems are going to be a little bit more difficult. They give you the scale factor, they give you the center, and then you just need to move A 3 times. So a scale factor of 3. So this will be 1, then we'll go over here, then maybe somewhere over here. Same thing with B. Here's 1, and we can draw the line. I'll do number 8 together. This is given center O, scale factor R, and points A and B. Find the points, compare the length. All right, so we're just gonna do this. And then we're just gonna do this. Maybe a little bit more. Boom. So mark your A and your B. Your A to O, A to O, which is about there, about there. So that's 3. So this was 1, 2, 3. This is my new A prime. Do the same thing from O to B. Let's measure this, O to B. So that's 1, 2, 3. That's my new B prime. All right. And lastly, all they wanted you to do was measure A to B. So here you do use a ruler, right? So you'll measure how much it is. It should come out to, depending on the units that you use, I'm gonna use centimeters for this, but it should come out to about 4.2 centimeters, right? And then from A to B, so I'm gonna write centimeters, A to B, you measure that, and that should come out to 12.6 centimeters, which makes sense because our scale factor is 3, so it should be 3 times the amount. And this is what you're doing for 7, 8, 9, and all of that. Cool. Hopefully it's not that tough. I know the rotations and the reflections, the rigid motions were difficult, but hopefully this dilation is a little bit easier. Okay. With that, go ahead and do the exit ticket now for lesson 6. If you don't have it, get it from me or Miss Chavarria. Once you finish it, we'll stamp it, and then if you understand and you did it correctly, you can move on to lesson 7. All right, well, that concludes our lesson for today. And with that, I say, peace out, Girl Scout.